volunteer at Camp Sunshine, Camp Snowflake in Ridgewood.
I did a harvest house where you feed the poor.
Yeah, at a food bank for the homeless.
For me, I want to be a doctor, so working on a volunteer at a hospital.
Work at the elementary school for like a couple weeks now, and I worked at like a library and other stuff.
Hospital volunteering.
I did children's soccer for a while in the fall.
I cleaned up the river for for a school project.
I helped him clean the river to make the environment cleaner.
I did a lot of hours in a Korean school and a church.
Yeah, I helped clean up like the roads by my house.
We went to Harlem. I forgot the name of the park, but we dug up plants and put new ones in. We had to grow trees and mow the lawn and stuff like that.
Clean the Passaic River for school hours. You know, you have to do like 16 hours a year or something like that.
Yeah, once I volunteered around Christmas. I painted an elves house for little kids that they were to play in. It was in a park in Brooklyn, New York. That was the only time I ever volunteered for anything.
I know you had to volunteer. Like, I know it's such a big thing, so I didn't really, but I really should have.
You like play bingo with at the community or the old people, junior leaders. It's called. We do a lot of stuff. Plant flowers, put out flags, whatever. You know.
I just work at Tenneco Middle School in Coaster. I help the 7th graders.
For my confirmation, I did volunteer work at the hospital.
Yeah, for my confirmation, I did soup kitchen.
I used to do police explorers and stuff like that.
I want to actually be a volunteer firefighter.
I did a couple breast cancer walks, and I used to go to a kindergarten class every day and just help a teacher out there.
Actually I do a lot of community service. I do a Big Brother, Big Sister. I've been in it for a year. I've gone to soup kitchens in Trenton and Asbury Park. I don't know. I can't think of anything else on the top of my head. Clothing drives, Wish Upon a Prom with Asbury Park, and stuff like that.
Did you know that 1 in 4 teens does some type of volunteer work?
In 2002, 13 million teens provided 2.4 billion hours of service.
This generation volunteers more than any previous generation.
Are you involved with any type of teen outreach?
Do you have friends who volunteer to help others?
What kind of service do you provide, and why do you serve? That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi, I'm Cora.
And I'm Jack.
And this is Real Faith TV.
A lot of the teens we spoke to on the street told us that they do volunteer service work.
And I know that our studio guests have done some kind of volunteer service work.
We'll meet them later, but first let's meet Paul, our spotlight guest.
Paul has participated in numerous service projects, including traveling to a small village called Monte Rosa in Nicaragua to help the poor living there.
Well, Zoe, I participate in a lot of different services around here, and especially in Nicaragua. I went on a trip called Ayuda Nica, which we traveled down to Nicaragua, and we helped the little kids down in a community center down in Monte Rosa. Also, I like to participate in activities associated with my youth group. And last year I did this thing where we went around Philadelphia and we dressed up as elves and Santa Claus. We brought presents to some of the children, and we actually made their Christmas, because if we hadn't gone around that, they wouldn't have had a Christmas. And other things I do, I went to a soup kitchen in Trenton a few times last year. And last year, one of my favorite things that I did was we slept outside overnight in boxes, and we raised money for the homeless people around Trenton and Philadelphia. And so we sat outside Mass, and we collected money as we sat in our boxes that we slept in the night before. Well, I figure that a lot of people have given me so much in my life, and people have brought me to God, and I figure that I'm not the best speaker in the world, so I figure my actions would speak louder than my words. And so I think by service, I actually set an example for others, and I may not be directly proclaiming the Word of God, but they can see it through my actions. I think it's becoming more and more popular, especially when the schools are enforcing that service is a big part of life, and teens are actually becoming interested in it when they discover that they actually get something out of it, and they're not just giving to the kids. When you're serving others, you learn a lot about yourself. Some people say that teaching, you learn twice as much as you do when you're learning. I think traveling to a different country to do service as opposed to doing service around here, it teaches you a lot about yourself. For like the language barrier and the cultural differences, it certainly makes you adapt to the surroundings, which also makes you learn a lot about yourself, and as opposed to serving around here where you're comfortable. And a lot of my friends ask me like why I pay so much money to go to a different country and serve, and there's so much to do around here. But I figure that I'm fortunate enough to have enough money to be able to go to a different country and serve, so that I should use my gifts and serve down in other places. But I also make a point of serving the people around me because I think that's very important.
Paul really keeps himself busy with his volunteer work.
Let's meet our studio guests and find out what kind of volunteer service they spend their time on.
They are Zoe, Betsy, Ross, Katie, and Caitlin.
So what kind of volunteer service do you do?
I do a bunch of different things. I was an altar server. I've been an altar server since 4th grade. I volunteered at several different places. Probably my favorite is I help my sister out with certain events. They have an ARC walkathon, which helps raise money for disabled children, and so I do that with my sister. Just other different little things. I donate some of my time to CCD, and I help my friend teach a CCD class. Just kind of stuff with God. Most of my things I'm volunteering involve God in some way.
Yeah, I did altar serving for 5 years and helped out at a assisted living center and did some work at a lunch break place where they packed up lunches for homeless people, and it gives you a good feeling.
Yeah, I've been to the Trenton area soup kitchen, and I do a lot of work with the community service club at our school, and we do a lot of fundraisers. I also volunteer at the hospital in Princeton, and then I also went on a Unica trip to Nicaragua with Paul.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was a really amazing experience. But
I'm in the Key Club at my school, and I do the youth group at my church, and I've also volunteered and helped teach CCD for my confirmation for the community service hours.
Yeah, they organized the same thing at my church, so we helped teach the CCD classes, me and everyone else who's in the youth group choir, because I cantor for the Life Teen Masses. But I have to say my favorite service project that I've done as of yet would probably be either the 30-hour famine or Habitat for Humanity. And I know that the 30-hour famine doesn't sound too happy because basically you don't eat anything for 30 hours, but we were with people that we were really close friends with, and you were just concentrating on other things, and we did a bunch of different smaller service projects inside of that, and it was a really great experience.
Yeah, this summer was my first time, and I did a Habitat for Humanity thing for a week, which was a really good experience. And I also volunteer at the Crisis Ministry in Trenton, and I do stuff through school and stuff like that.
Ever since I was little, I've been doing Christian clown ministry and puppet ministry with my mother and some of my siblings. And let's see, also just being on the show, we're doing some form of ministry here. And also I helped out with some CCD classes and younger groups and small prayer groups with kids.
Sounds like everyone does a lot of service work. The reasons we serve are as numerous as the number of us who do serve.
Some of us volunteer because we are bored or because our friends are involved with some outreach work.
Serving might be a family affair with all members pitching in to accomplish a community project.
Other teenagers volunteer to meet new people and to learn new skills.
Volunteering is a good way to explore a career field you are considering.
Almost all teens involved in service say that they like the idea of helping someone and that service makes them feel good about themselves.
Let's go back to our teens in the street and find out why they serve others.
Why do you think it is important for people to volunteer their services to help others?
You just have to give back to community. I mean, the community does so much for you. You have to give something back.
It's very humbling in a sense where serving another human being.
Also to get experience in any real life situation. Volunteering is putting your hands on to different things that life and that you can do in life.
It feels good to help other people.
It's nice to give other people things.
It just makes you feel kind of good about yourself.
It makes me feel better knowing that I put my time to better use helping someone else rather than sitting around doing nothing.
I like helping people in the community.
So we give back to the community and got nothing else to do.
Looks good on a resume, makes me feel a little bit better.
I did it because I had to for school.
We were forced by our science teacher.
I did because I had to at school. Not that I don't like helping people, but I'll be honest, I
did it because we had to do it at school.
Yeah, at first you just do it because like you had to, but then you realize you're helping.
I didn't think I was going to like it, but when I did clean up the river at the end, I actually felt like I did something good. So.
There's a big difference between someone who wants to do something and someone who has to do something. So if you volunteer to do something, it's more important.
Ideally, it's because you want to like help people, but I think most people our age would do it for like college applications, or at least people I know.
Yeah,
me included.
That's why no seniors volunteer, because they're in college already.
I feel unfortunately there are some who do it just for college applications, but I think the ones that really make a difference are doing it because they believe in it.
Fun, like, cause you like it's usually you and like a group of friends, and then you all go out, have fun together. Yeah, and at the same time, you're also like helping people.
It's the right thing to do. I mean, comparing to every other way we spend our time.
People don't realize how good they have it, and don't realize there's people that are less fortunate out there that could use their help.
It makes a big difference in a lot of people's lives. Like with Big Brother, Big Sister, I think I've gotten more out of it than my little sister has, because just seeing the smile on her face every week and knowing the home she's come from, it makes me feel a lot better knowing that I helped her, and just, I don't know, it makes me have a purpose.
I like the one guy who said there was a difference between when you volunteer to do it and when you have to do it. There was a couple people who said that they were forced to do it by their school, but I think most of the people volunteered just because it made them feel good.
But also, even if you are forced into volunteer work, the people that you're helping are still going to get something out of it, whether you're doing it voluntarily or not. The fact that someone's still benefited. What are some of the reasons that you guys volunteer?
I definitely noticed that I started volunteering on more assignments and more projects, you know, when I hit like sophomore year, and I was definitely, you know, in the back of my mind thinking about the colleges and, you know, having to get enough hours to get into a certain college. So I know that played a little bit of a role into it, but once I got into it and, you know, started volunteering, I mean, I completely forgot about having enough hours for college. It was more just, you know, keeping my mind on the task at hand and helping the people whom I was volunteering for.
I'm not gonna lie, I did it for confirmation service hours, and I'm doing it for high school service hours too, you know. But you like sort of killing two birds with one stone. Makes you feel good, and you're helping people, and at the same time you're filling a requirement that you have. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, because we have community service requirements at my school, and I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, I can't believe we have to do community service. But then once they start doing it, they do so many more hours than they have to, just because it's such an awesome experience. I always love doing community service and just being able to meet like a lot of new people, not only the people you're helping, but the people you're volunteering with. And you just gain a lot different perspective from all the volunteering that you can do. So I just really like doing any kind of community service.
I'm doing it because I have a lot, I have to say, and it's nice to give back to those who don't have as much as I do, and that's what Jesus wants us to do, to help those who are less fortunate.
The main reason why I volunteer is especially because of like the reward you get from just seeing how like other people react to it, and especially like at the crisis ministry where you give them food and stuff, and like how like little things are so much more important, and it makes you appreciate what you have.
I just think, like, I worked at an assisted living place, like I said before, and I was helping people who have Alzheimer's, and I was like feeding them, putting them in front of the TV and everything. This one guy, I'll never forget it. He like looks up at me and just says like, "Thank you," and the look on his face, it just made me get this great feeling.
Yeah, you would think that like no one ever helped him before in his life.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
I was just like, wow. Volunteering has many positive effects on teens. According to ABC News, research confirms that teens who learn early to be social, caring, and responsible perform better in school.
And are more likely to graduate at the top of their class, armed with critical leadership skills.
And outreach experiences during adolescence and young adulthood form lifelong patterns of good citizenship and community involvement.
Paul found that serving others really has helped him to grow.
Next, he tells us about his experience reaching out to the people in Nicaragua.
Ayuda Nica was started about 10 years ago, and the name Ayuda Nica means Help Nicaragua. And it was started by a guy from the Peace Corps who actually wanted to show everybody what he got from serving the Nicaraguans. So it's a way of showing people who actually go on the trip like what it actually felt like. And we bring down books, computers, and other supplies, and we run a community center down in Monte Rosa, Nicaragua, which is just north of Managua, which is the capital of Nicaragua. And for the past 10 years, we developed this community center that used to be this old house that was actually deteriorating. And we actually rebuilt it. We built a library and brought down computers. So now we run a story hour, a computer class, sewing classes and knitting classes, and other classes such like that. The kids are really outgoing and they're really sweet. And when you talk to them, they're there to listen. And I found myself the first year I went stumbling over my words and I really didn't know how to speak. But the nonverbal communication was great and they always had a smile on their face. And when you walk into their houses, they have nothing except like maybe a few marbles to play around with or just like maybe a few toys. But they're the happiest people like on earth. And it just really taught me a lot that you don't really need material things to be happy. It's kind of frustrating when you come back to the States and no one really understands what you went through because it's such a touching experience. And I've been involved in the trip for about 2 years now, and I don't know, I just got so much out of it. Every year, like last year, it wasn't until like a year later where I actually realized how much I had grown from that experience. I definitely feel like Ardent has just definitely changed my life and the way I look at things. When you're living around like the area that we live, you kind of tend to get spoiled a little bit, and going down to Nicaragua showed me that material things aren't really that important, and then just like the love of family, love of friends, just is definitely important. And also their like devotion to God, like going to church down there is just so amazing. And it's kind of discouraging when you see mission trips going down there because I think the Nicaraguans could teach us fewer things about going to church and stuff like that.
I have to agree with how doing service really makes you realize just how fortunate you are. And also just, it brings you closer to God because whether or not you mean to or you realize that if you're with people who also believe, then you're going to be talking, you're going to be working with them, and you're going to be bonding with them, so you're going to start learning more about your faith or their faith.
Can any of you guys think of some way that participating in a service project has changed you?
Oh, I definitely think, because like I said, I went on the trip with Paul, and when we came back, I know because I talked to a lot of other people on the team, and we would just sit there and like if we went out to a restaurant or something in Nicaragua, then it was just so evident, like everyone ate everything and like people were just really concerned. Like if we didn't finish the food we had on our plate, we'd like take it out and we'd give it to the kids on the street there. But like here, if you go out to a restaurant, like you see people just like throwing away like half their meals, and it's just like, it really makes you think like how much are we wasting and how much do we have that we don't really need, and it kind of makes you reevaluate your life and how you're living it, and it makes you just want to, give more and just, try and make their situation better and, not be so selfish.
I think any volunteering changes you. I mean, like what you said, the guy said a simple thank you, and you said you'll never forget it. I mean, it could be something that easy, that simple, that really touches your heart and touches your soul, and it's a changing experience for you because I'm sure, given the opportunity again, you'll probably go back and help out and volunteer there again. So, I mean, that's something that changed you. You were, just trying to fill hours, and now it's kind of something that you enjoy.
Yeah, when I was on Habitat for Humanity, we were building the house, which is basically what you're doing, obviously, but I realized it was a fairly nice house, but it was being built completely by people who really didn't know what they were doing, just helping out and trying, and a family was going to live there and it was going to put a roof over their heads, and it was really going to make a difference in their life, and it was not that much of my time, and yet I was making a big difference, because if one person might be like, well, I'm not doing this by myself, they don't really need me for it, but if everyone thought that way, there wouldn't be anyone to help.
Yeah, it was amazing that you could actually make a difference, because I didn't know anything about even nailing or anything. And one of the nights we had a cookout with the families of the Habitat for Humanity, who the houses were going to. And it was all the little kids and everything, and they were we really appreciate it, and it made it really worthwhile.
Gives you that good feeling inside.
Yeah, definitely.
As Christians, we serve to follow the example of Jesus.
If we want to be disciples of Jesus, then we must imitate him in all things, serving as he did.
On the night before he died, Jesus washed the feet of the disciples, telling them, I have given you a model to follow.
So that, as I have done for you, you should also do.
Let's check out the teens on the street and find out how much, or even whether their faith plays any part in the reason why they serve others.
Does your faith or religious belief have anything to do with why you volunteer?
No, not at all.
No, not really. No, just I don't think it intertwines.
No, not really.
No.
Nah.
Nope.
Yeah, I guess you could say that it does.
No, absolutely nothing.
Certainly, I believe so. I think that's definitely my incentive, the motivation.
Yes, because it's through our church, and we're involved with everything that goes on there.
I don't think so. I think it's just more morals for me.
Not religious beliefs, but you try to be good. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, religion's all about help and sharing your community and then other men, so.
In the Bible, it says to help other people, and so I guess, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I believe in loving everybody and, not judging someone because of a situation that they're in. I want to help them instead of condescending them and being, prejudging them.
We believe that the gifts we are given are meant to be shared.
They are not given for selfish gain or the accumulation of awards.
Outreach is the unselfish sharing of what was given to you by God for that purpose.
Next, Paul talks about how his service is connected to his faith.
Well, I think that everybody receives something from everybody else, and it's just a circle of service, and everybody gets what they gave out. So I think it's important, just like Jesus said, that we should serve each other. And I don't always look at it as a direct connection between God and service, but I definitely realize so much God has given me that I have to give back to other people. Well, I think it's important to volunteer your services because what you give out will always return to you, and like Jesus said, do unto others as they will do to you. And I think it's really important because everybody around here is so fortunate that I think we should really give to other people who are less fortunate.
I like what he said about do unto others as they will do to you, and what you give others is going to come back to you someday, and that's what God wants us to do. How does your faith influence your service to others?
Well, God calls us to serve others. I mean, we're put here to be stewards to other people on the earth. So basically, if we don't serve other people, then we're rejecting God's call to us. So I think it's really, really important to be able to go out there and share your gifts, even if you're not necessarily sharing your faith with other people, because maybe they're not the same religion or that's just not what you're helping with them with. You're still showing them the Catholic faith by your love for them and your service towards them. So anything you do that's service, it has to be centered in God because you're sharing God's love with everyone else.
Well, it's like we're all pieces of a puzzle, and you put the pieces together and you get the big puzzle. And everyone has talents, and if we use those talents to help other people, then the world would be perfect because everyone would be helping everybody else and no one would be in need, and the puzzle would come together and we have a perfect world.
Yeah, if you all just contribute to each other, the pieces will fall into place, basically.
Exactly.
And like Zoe was saying with volunteering, it doesn't have to necessarily be telling people what to believe, but just showing them by your actions and everything.
The same gifts we're given that are used to make our faith stronger is also what makes our community stronger. And so our community is what we're doing our services to, and we're making it stronger. It's only better.
Well, there's volunteering and then there's ministry. And volunteering is when people go out and they help people and everything. But as Catholics, we do ministry. We go out and we're using our faith to help us volunteer. And we're doing it because God wants us to do it. And you have to remember that faith aspect in the whole volunteering thing, Because otherwise you're just volunteering.
With ministry, you don't always have to be at Habitat for Humanity or teaching CCD. You can do ministry anywhere you are. You can bring God to every person you meet, and that's really the wonderful thing about it.
You don't have to formally sign up and volunteer somewhere. It could just be, just helping people out.
Yeah, ministry can just be sharing your faith with other people who want to learn more about it and need help. Volunteering is more often offering physical service or just doing something like teaching a CCD class or something like that. But as Christians, we're called to pretty much do both. We're called to spread our faith through our examples and to volunteer ourselves for the work.
For the good of others.
Right, and service never has to be anything big like going down to Nicaragua or even teaching a CCD class. Something as simple as helping someone cross the street or with groceries or something, that's ministry. And as Catholics, we're called to do that and help people on an everyday basis.
Yeah, my uncle, he's a missionary priest in Siberia, and he's there and he's helping the people and converting them to Catholicism, and that's his calling, and that is his volunteer work for God.
Wow, that's powerful to be able to go down there and preach in this totally new place, and that's really living up to God's call to volunteer and do ministry.
Yeah, I mean, just if you look around the world, it's like people feel so disillusioned with the way things are because they think that, you know, people are not caring, people aren't religious, people are just trashing each other all over the place. But if you really look at what there is, the good out there that you don't hear about, this world's worth saving, but we all need to contribute to try to make it happen.
Well, as we said earlier, this generation is volunteering more than any other generation. That's awesome.
In Psalm 116, the question is asked, how can I repay the goodness of the Lord? In part, we repay God's generosity by being good to those in need.
As Christians, we serve as a sign of our thankfulness toward God.
Jesus taught us that whatever we do for one of the least of his brothers, we do for him.
We understand that outreach and service are an essential part of life in Christ.
Are you involved in any type of teen outreach? What kind of service do you provide and why do you serve? We want to know.
Contact us through our website.
The address is realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
If you're thinking about whether or not to volunteer your time to help others, remember what St. Paul wrote in one of his letters.
As each one has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Real Faith TV. God bless.